Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part two of the most exciting part of your day, world history. Here we are getting into talking about mercantilism. The other guy that was on the other screen was talking about the commercial revolution. I'm done with that. So, what about mercantilism? Mercantilism is all about countries creating colonies and developing and gaining wealth. According to your book, like what it says up on the screen here, mercantilism is the dominant economic system practiced during the age of exploration. Mercantilists believe that the newly founded wealth could benefit the mother country. So all the wealth went to the mother country. So if I went to the next slide, which I will, and this will be a video that I'll go back to. And here you have the main countries. So you got like England, you got like France, Portugal, Spain, Italy. Those were referred to as the mother countries. And like we said, it's an economic system where they control the colonies. So American colonies, Portuguese colonies, English colonies, all over the place. And it was mostly amongst the main countries in Europe. The main countries were the mother countries. The colonies would supply raw materials to those countries. So everything then was basically regulated under mercantilism. The government had a lot to say, a lot to do. So there was tons and tons of government control all throughout the world. So I'm going to back out of this. I'm going to play the video. Hopefully, again, make sure that you have your earbuds all set, ready, rock and roll. It's a quick 2-minute video, which just takes this guy and talks about mercantilism.
Illustrative video, we're going to take a look at the word mercantilism. Now, mercantilism is an economic system. And if you don't remember what economic means, it is basically money. So it's a system in which somebody's going to make money. So the economic system is called mercantilism. Now, the countries that are going to primarily use mercantilism are these here, the ones that are in Europe. So the European countries, the big three is another word we may have used, the big three being Spain here, France here, and England here, are going to use this idea called mercantilism to gain power. So the idea is to gain power. They want to get a lot of power. And the way they were going to do it was to travel across the world and start colonies in random places. The best places that have very good raw materials, the things they could use to make money. So raw materials could then be sent over to England, Spain, or France. They could collect it all, turn them into manufactured goods, so they can turn them into manufactured goods, and then they can send them back out and to sell them. So they're going to sell everything. The idea behind mercantilism is to control colonies. So they are going to control them, and they're going to force them to send all their stuff to these big three countries. They are not allowed to trade between each other at all. So they are not allowed to have any kind of business between each other. They have to do business with what you would call the mother country. The mother countries would be the big three over here. So Spain, France, and England. So mercantilism's main goal is to give power to the mother country. So mercantilism, power to the mother country by controlling colonies and forcing them to trade with the mother country.
Okay, so hopefully we're able to hear that. If not, well, you got the YouTube address right there, www.youtube.com, watch question mark V. You can see it, type it in, watch it later. Till then, now we're going to move on. So you got a basic understanding of what mercantilism, and it was different in different places. Under mercantilism, colonies existed to supply to the mother country. Spain, Peru, Portugal, Mexico, the United States. All the different goods that were bought were there to benefit the mother country. So, like the video said, here in America, tobacco, tea, cotton, those were items that they needed back in England. But England could not, United States couldn't, or the colonies could not trade with any of the other colonies. They could only trade with the mother country. So it was not very user friendly. It was very very overwhelming for the mother, or great for the mother country, just not necessarily super for everybody else. The goal of mercantilism: to obtain as much precious metal or raw materials. So a country like Great Britain could be self-sufficient. So they would not and were not able to do anything on their own. They couldn't make tea. They couldn't get gold. They couldn't get cotton or tobacco. So instead of them having to get it from another country, they created a colony, and then the colony would contribute the raw materials to the country to make them self-sufficient. So they could do things all by themselves. Let's see if I can get my video stuff back up here. There it is. There, now I can see my clock at the bottom. Okay, so nations acquire colonies to provide mother country with raw materials and goods to be sold at the markets. Colonies had to trade with the mother country. It was good for the mother country, but it was bad for the colony. The colony, like in the United States colonies could only trade with England. They couldn't make money off the raw materials that they were growing with anybody else. So the colonies had an opportunity to be incredibly wealthy themselves, but the mother country, through laws, wouldn't allow it. The weaknesses of mercantilism is everything was regulated by the government. There was nothing that the colonies had. The colonies didn't have an ability to choose anything. They were stuck with the mother country enforcing and imposing rules upon them that they had to comply with. It ultimately created, look at the second point here, it ultimately created monopolies. And you had a country that would only allow a certain colony to trade with them. They could trade with nobody else. So in return then, if a colony needed something from the mother country could charge as much as they wanted because the colonies couldn't get it from anywhere else. So that created a monopoly, only one place where the people could get stuff. And there was no competition. It would be like instead of having Kmart, Target, and Walmart where you could buy stuff, well, there was only Walmart. So Walmart could have jacked up the price of a can of soup to $200 if they really wanted to, because the colony, being you, couldn't go anywhere else to get it. The government's interests were way above the needs of the people. The government could have cared less what the people wanted. They could have cared less how affluent or how prosperous the colonies were. The government only cared about the mother country. And that's why you see a whole lot of issues that developed with colonialism and mercantilism as a result that brought about the Revolutionary War. There was no two-way street between the buyer and the seller. It only benefited, only benefited one person, the mother country. No two-way street. So the mother country was the buyer. These guys were the seller. The mother country told the seller or the colony how much they could sell their item for, and that was it. So it wasn't a two-way street. It was really restricting. It wasn't a great method of an economy. Once people got tired of mercantilism, then they started to look for another economic system that would help meet their needs. And it's really, when you think about it, it's kind of the current economic system that we fall into right now, and that's capitalism. Capitalism is, I had a guy that I used to know, and I don't know him anymore because he's like gone far away. I asked him one time, give me a definition of capitalism. And so he said, take a tiny pile of money, and capitalism will take the tiny pile of money and turn it into a large or a bigger pile of money. So really, like you see up here on the top, and I don't know if I can draw on that. I got to go back now. Capitalism is acquiring and advancing wealth. So investing your money in businesses and trying to double and triple that in the stock market. That's an example of capitalism. Capitalism is different than mercantilism. In mercantilism, like socialism, the government has a lot of control. And in capitalism, the businessman has more control. So I look at point number 2 here. Capitalism is enterprising individuals who risk investing their own money in terms of making a profit. In terms of making a profit. There are a lot of shows that are on TV that represent capitalism. I would assume most of you have seen American Pickers. They buy stuff at a low price, they sell it at a higher price. I would assume that you guys have watched the show Pawn Stars. They take and buy stuff from people who want to get rid of it, and they sell it at a higher price. They risk their own money in hopes of making a profit. You ever drive by a car dealership and see how many cars are at a car dealership? Hundreds. Somebody has to buy those cars. Usually the car dealer, the guy who owns the car dealership, buys all those cars at a certain price. He then has to have people come in and buy those cars at a higher price. So there is always in capitalism a risk of not making a profit or, sadly, even losing all of your money. And so that happened a lot where people would invest money in trade voyages. Now I'm going to go back a few slides here to where I got a map. And just let's use the map for the sake of the map. Imagine I have like Christopher Columbus, or I don't know, Joe Schmo, Jack Black, what, I don't care, pick a name of a guy who could be an explorer. So he explores here from France, and he loads up and gets a big old ginormous ship, and he gets people to invest money in him and his own, and he then wants to go all the way down here to South America, because they've got some awesome and amazing natural resources down in South America, down by the Straits of Magellan and by the Falkland Islands. So he invests his own money. There are a lot of risks that can happen as he sails. He could get caught in a storm. His crew members could revolt against him. They could starve, go hungry, get lost, not make it. And then the ship, the crew, lives, and all the money that was invested way back here in the mother country or in France would be lost. So you could lose everything. But say, let's hypothetically come out here and we go and say he invests $10,000 into a trip, goes down here and buys $10,000 worth of pick your favorite product. And then he takes that stuff from here and goes all the way back up to France and sells each one of those items for $10 a piece. If he sells them each for $10 a piece, he pays his $10,000 bill. $10 times $10,000, he's going to make $100,000 and a $90,000 profit. While the risk is great, there is an incredible reward too. I'll stop right there and load this video up and move on to the last portion of class.